Hey everybody, welcome into The Spread, Nesson.com's football picks podcast. I'm Nesson.com's Mike Cole, joined, as always, by Nesson.com's Andre Cacciatorian, and also, you might have guessed, Nesson.com's own Ricky Doyle.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi, guys.
So you can't say always, because there's that 1 week where
I know.
I wasn't here.
You know what's weird? Like,
here.
literally, as I was saying that, I was like, oh, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, not always.
Usually.
I
Let's
lied.
go and look and see how we did that week. I think we might have had a good week with you on the sidelines.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we might kick you out before the championship.
It's divisional week in the NFL, and as always, we are here to give our against the spread picks. In just a few moments, we will make against the spread picks for all 4 games this weekend. I alluded to this last week. I firmly believe that this is the best weekend of the football season. I don't know if you guys agree. I weirdly saw somebody making the argument for wild card weekend, and I thought that was kind of weird, especially considering how those games played out.
Oh, yeah.
I think this week you got the heavyweights are back, and some really interesting upstart teams with some very intriguing matchups.
I agree.
I'm glad you feel that way because I think the games last weekend are very overrated. Some people really enjoyed last week.
I was really excited going.
Sucked.
I was excited going into it, but the game sucked.
Yeah,
I
was
terrible.
real fired up going
Yeah.
in. And then we were sitting there like Sunday afternoon in the middle. It's like halftime of the Bears-Eagles game. And like this weekend's been trash relative to what we were expecting.
And like this is the NFL, too. I feel like this happens all the time. They went through it. The entire weekend was garbage, pretty much. And then even that game Sunday, that Bears-Eagles game wasn't great. But they got that one goddamn moment in the entire game that everybody's going to talk about for the next 3 to 5 days. Like, It's perfect. Everybody forgets about how bad the games were the rest of the week.
Yeah, and games are relatively close. I mean, Seahawks Cowboys was close.
That game was okay. Yeah,
it's like whatever, you know.
It wasn't that close. I just like the fact that game was decided because Sebastian Janikowski got it.
I know. Well, that's the thing too, is the line in that game got up to 2.5 before it closed. And since Janikowski got hurt, they had to go for 2 late there instead of kick the extra point. They got within that 2.5, and so a lot of people made a lot of money or lost a lot of money.
Picked that game with the 1 point.
Yeah, and I didn't. And I realized that late that I got mad because I took the Seahawks.
Oh, yes. Ricky took the Cowboys.
Looking back to Wild Card Weekend, how did we do, Andre?
Ricky, you were 3-1. I was 2-2. Mike, you were 2-2.
Yep.
And we all nailed that Chargers game. We all lost on the Bears. We all picked the Bears.
We're all very adamant about the Bears blowing doors in that one.
Yeah. But Nick Foles, continues. The magic continues. We'll talk about that game later on. Total standings: I have 135 wins. Ricky, you are still 3 games behind me. Mike, you're 7 games behind me. The only way
How is Ricky
have a chance
still
to tie me is if you go 7-0 the rest of the way, and I go 0-7.
Oh, well, nobody cares.
If you have one pick today, that is the same. That means you automatically eliminate yourself from.
Yeah, I understand how it works.
Winning the championship.
So he's got the champagne's on ice. Is what you're saying?
Well, I go last all the time, so I'm just
You change it up on me.
all right, so let's. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to get into. Oh, I did think this was interesting. I kind of pulled these up real quick, and I will get into one of these at some point later in the show. Super Bowl odds updated. I forget where I got these, but the odds are pretty much the same across the board. Saints lead the way right now as it stands, 5-2. Chiefs 4-1. Those 2 teams obviously coming off their byes. As did the Rams 9-2, Patriots 6-1, Chargers 8-1, Eagles 10-1, Colts also 10-1, and Cowboys bringing up the rear at 12-1. And I'll have something to say about the Cowboys in a little bit. In terms of, we don't give out a lot of futures advice, but I'd be looking at the Cowboys not necessarily as a Super Bowl pick, but perhaps as a conference and champion pick. So that's maybe tipping my hand a little bit, but that's something we will get into a little bit more as we go on. I did think this was interesting. I forget who had this on Twitter as well. Somebody quoted Bill Cowher, or at least they thought it was Bill Cowher, who said, and this is something to keep in mind as you go on, as you're handicapping throughout the weekend. He said, your strengths get you into the playoffs and your weaknesses get you out. So that's pretty zen-like.
That's a great quote.
That is a good quote. So
you can translate that to life, too.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Your strengths might get you into a job, but
your
weaknesses might, be the reason you don't advance in that career.
Very good. Are you doing a little introspective?
Yeah. You all right over there? Need to grab a drink or something?
He's got strong New Year's resolutions. Yeah. He's really looking into
sober January is not going so well.
No. All right, let's get into it. Saturday afternoon, the Indianapolis Colts. I almost forgot.
Speaking of sober January.
Yeah.
It'd be a real treat if I'd The Colts pull this one off.
Yeah.
See what Jim Irsay has up his sleeve.
Oh my God. As always, pretty much all of our lines, trends, you name it, stats, anything else, records,
Everything.
Data.
The whole kit and caboodle.
A lot of it's coming from oddshark.com, so make sure you go over to oddshark.com for all of the up-to-date lines, odds. They got props, they have futures, they have it all. Anything you need in terms of information, they have it. I used their database this week to look up some Patriots stuff, so go check them out, oddshark.com. And follow them on social media as well. They got a lot of good information there. All right, let's get into it. Saturday afternoon, 4:35 p.m., the Kansas City Chiefs will look to do something they haven't done since 1994, and that is win a home playoff game when they host the Indianapolis Colts. Colts coming off of a very convincing win last week at Houston. They have to go back out on the road as 5.5-point underdogs against the Chiefs. Total set at 57 right here. Ricky, where are you on the side here?
I love the Colts in this one.
So does everybody.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing that makes me nervous a little bit. But and I think their path to victory is basically the same as it was last week. You need to establish the run, which they did against Houston. Obviously, Houston, a much better team against the run. Kansas City, you can make the case is the worst run defense in the NFL. Certainly, several measures point to that. I just think that in watching that matchup with the Texans, that Colts offensive line is pretty damn good, which is amazing considering where they were last season.
Quentin Nelson is a beast.
So, you generate that push up front. The ability to protect Andrew Luck as well. I just think they're going to be able to run the ball, particularly early, because this game could be won or lost in the opening few minutes here if the Chiefs come out red hot and gain a big lead. But I just think the Colts are going to be able to slow things down a little bit with their running attack. Ultimately open up plays down the field. So I like the Colts not only to get within the number, I think they might win this game outright.
Interesting. Andre?
I don't know if they'll win outright, but I'm going to take the Colts with the points as well. I like what they did with Marlon Mack as well in that game against the Texans. 148 rushing yards against the Texans' rush defense that was the best in the league in terms of yards allowed per carry. Now they face a Chiefs rush defense, which is not very good. They allow a ton of yards. They allow 5 yards per carry, second highest. I think Mack gets involved in this game, and it takes a lot of pressure off Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, 9-0 this season when throwing the ball fewer than 40 times. I think Colts running attack is going to be a big one. You talked about the offensive line. I won't get into that. Pat Mahomes, we talked about this before. 12 interceptions in the last 12 games. I guess Luck, he makes mistakes too. But I like the fact that they have it seems like they have a better running attack against a weaker rushing defense in the Chiefs. And ever since Spencer Ware, he's been absent. Ever since he's been absent. Chiefs are 29th in rush attempts. They've really gotten away from the run. They don't really trust their running game. They've been throwing the ball a lot more with Pat Mahomes. So I think they're going to be very one-dimensional in this game, and the Colts will win, especially in a cold game where running attack, it's going to be cold. It's going to be like
mid-30s.
Mid-30s. So running game is going to be, I think, a little bit more important than in a dome game or a warmer game. So I think that's the advantage to the Colts.
Okay. Here's where I start my comeback. I had the Colts for all morning, and I started thinking about it. And you just look at the Colts are on the right track, and the Colts are going to be very good. They have a buttload of salary cap room. I think they have $100 million going in the offseason. They're going to be, if I can get a Super Bowl futures ticket right now and the Colts to win the Super Bowl next year, I'm interested in that. This year, though, I think there's still some issues. And you look at their schedule, playing in the AFC South, they didn't have to play a lot of good offenses. They're a team that was much better at home than on the road, offensively and defensively. And this is just a test that they haven't had to face all season. They've faced one top 10 offense the entire year, and that was the Patriots. And they got the Patriots earlier in the season, too.
Thursday night game.
Yeah, right. It was a Thursday night game. So, this just isn't they haven't had this kind of test yet all season. I do like this number 2, or these numbers I saw from the Action Network. Dome teams on the road, 8-24 straight up in postseason road games played outside since 2003. That's 25%. That's straight up, yes, but still, it's just an interesting number. Non-dome teams in outdoor road playoff games in the same time winning at a 47% clip. So there's a 25% difference there, basically. So that's something to keep in mind. This is a much different situation for them going into a place like Kansas City and trying to get a win. I also look at the fact that this could be a huge game for Travis Kelce. No team allowed more catches with tight ends this season than Indianapolis. They also ranked dead last in DVOA versus tight ends. It's just a lot of matchup problems, I think, for Indianapolis in this game. I do think it's going to, maybe look at the over as well, because I think both teams are going to get theirs. But I think in the end, Kansas City pulls away. Also, Colts dealing with injuries in the secondary. Mike Mitchell suffered a calf strain against Houston. He's pretty good. And it doesn't sound like, I sound like one of the Twitter doctors or whatever, those accounts that just basically diagnose stuff off of tweets and videos, said that they have a hard time believing that he'll play again this postseason. Also, another safety, Malik Hooker, suffered a foot injury. He returned in that game, but he's going to be hobbled as well. So when you're playing without two safeties in the back end against that team, that's a tough ask. Also, this is one that you maybe want to hold off on a little bit later in the week. That number, like I said, is at 5.5 now. It opened at 4.5 and then got bet up to 6. So, I think it goes back down. Number. I think it goes back down, to be honest with you, because I think the public right now looks like 53% is on Indianapolis. I would imagine that maybe if that gets down to like 5, 4.5 especially, I'd like it even more. But I'll take the Chiefs. And like I said, this is one that I came down on the Colts to begin with. But the more I think about it, if Kansas City can't win in this spot, then they're complete frauds.
Maybe they are.
Maybe they are.
Another thing, discipline in this one. Chiefs lead the NFL in penalty yards per game. Penalties and penalty yards.
Yep, that's true.
Game,
I would actually have that in my notes from.
So maybe
And to your point, I will say, and this is in the interest of giving out as much information as we can. I was on this one big time last week. That from Walter Football, the stat about quarterbacks making their first career playoff start when doing so at home as favorites. They were, I forget what the numbers were now going into last week. All of them lost last week. It was, let's see, Deshaun Watson made his first start and lost. Mitch Trubisky lost, and Lamar Jackson lost. So now that's 4-16 against the spread, 7-13 straight up since 2002. That is quarterbacks making their first career playoff starts at home as favorites. So something to keep in mind. So I don't know. I think I'm with you guys though. Like if Indianapolis covers a number here, I think they probably win. Like it's just one of those games where I think that it's a good matchup. I don't know. Their offense matches up very well with that defense. I just think it's going to be tough for them to get stops.
Yeah.
And if they fall behind early, too.
As well, just like to speak to that point a little bit, first and third down conversion percentage, fifth in red zone scoring percentage. Chiefs have had problems defensively in both of those areas. So the ability to extend drives but also finish drives could be big in this one.
Yeah. Also, Indianapolis is really good at limiting big plays. I think they allowed the fewest passing plays, 40 yards or more.
That's another one. That defense.
But again, I
thought they were going to be a train wreck coming into the season.
And that was the thing.
Really
they were 1-5.
Right, and that's the thing I just sat there kind of like thinking about. Like, was it like the ultimate, debate of are they good or did they just face bad offenses all season?
They had a very Saints-like draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the haul that they got, like their offseason, they hit on everything essentially.
I think it's a situation where what you said, they're good and they've played bad opponents, but we'll
speechless.
They proved me wrong last week on the road against Houston. I picked Houston, but that was a good win.
Yeah,
it was a good win on the road against a good.
Which I think is the one nice thing that you build off, and then you go in this week and you lose to the Chiefs.
Maybe.
I mean, they can still lose.
They're winning.
Yeah, right.
I think they're going to cover that big number. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Same thing with this coming game. Actually, no, this one.
You have a lot of interest in this one.
Speaking of big numbers, it's the Andre Kachaturian bandwagon special Saturday night in Los Angeles with the Rams. Welcome the Dallas Cowboys to town. The Rams currently sit as 7-point favorites. It opened at 6.5, got bet up to 7. It's holding steady at 7 in most places. Total currently at 49. As I said, Rams 7-point favorites at home against the Cowboys. Andre, what do you think?
You want to get him talking introspectively.
Yeah.
This is the matchup for it.
Well, it's a win-win for me.
This is really when you look yourself in the mirror.
I mean,
if you root for enough teams, you'll get one eventually.
In terms of rooting interest, I'm going back to the Cowboys.
Wow, shocking.
You go back to the ex-girlfriend.
You're such a piece of garbage when it comes to this stuff.
Anyway, but in terms of a pick, 7 points, you said?
Yeah.
Absolutely, Dallas Cowboys. I think they're winning this game. And it all comes down to the running attack. Rams' worst rush defense allow more than 5 yards per carry. Ezekiel Elliott, he's going to get his. You know he's going to get his. He's going to run the ball well in this game in what's going to be basically a home game for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
A lot of Cowboys fans in Los Angeles. That Coliseum is going to be 70% Cowboys fans.
The median, or maybe even the average ticket price I saw was like $800. Right now.
Are you serious? That's nuts. I didn't even know that. But Cowboys are 7-1 this year when Zeke runs the ball for 100 yards or more. And when that happens, again, we talk about this every week with the Cowboys. Zeke runs the ball, less pressure on Dak Prescott to take over a game. And huge factor, Tavon Austin revenge game. That guy was returning great punts against the Seahawks last week. I think he's going to be motivated in the special teams advantage for the Cowboys. Keep an eye on Tavon Austin. He played for the Rams, remember?
Yeah, I know.
Now he's playing against the Rams in the playoff game. He did say he doesn't want to make this about Tavon versus the Rams.
Oh, thank God.
Mission accomplished. Yeah. I don't think he'll have...
Great quote, but nobody's
throw my argument out the window.
I hope that was a New Year's resolution for him. Check that one off the box. I don't want to make the Cowboys game about me.
I'm talking about running attack right now. On the Rams side...
That Tavon Austin bull.
No, the Rams side, Todd Gurley, he's a great running back, but the Cowboys' rush defense, they allow fewer than 4 yards per carry, 4th best in the league, and they held Seattle. We talk about how great Seattle's running attack is. Cowboys held Seattle to 73 rushing yards last week, which is very impressive. That only happened once to the Seahawks since week 3. So if they can hold Seattle to 73 rushing yards, I think they're going to be able to do the same to the Rams. Force Jared Goff to throw a lot. When Goff throws the ball 40 times or more, they're 1-3 this season.
I'm going with the Rams. I know, like you said, they've had issues against the run, so conventional wisdom says just give it to Zeke about 700 times in this game and hope for the best. But I don't know. This is one I kind of took your method of like taking a step back and looking at these teams and being like, okay, what are the Cowboys really here? And while the Rams have had the defensive problems, I don't know. I'll take my chances with a defensive front with Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, and I don't know. I think they're able to slow that rushing attack, in which case Dak Prescott's obviously going to have to beat you. I don't think that happens. And I think Todd Gurley goes off in this game. I think this is a situation where you rest them.
Literally the exact opposite I just said.
What?
Like, it's funny.
Yeah, I know. And I think he makes an impact in the passing game in this one. Cowboys have struggled a little bit defending running backs in the passing game.
Yes.
So I think that you dump it off to him a little bit. You get some big chunk plays that way, and that's how you win offensively if you're the Rams. I don't know. I think they win this by a couple of touchdowns, 10 points maybe. I don't know. Over the number.
You know what's funny about quarterback's first appearance, home favorites? Jared Goff last year also
lost straight up. Yeah.
And Dak Prescott year before that also lost.
It's a pretty good.
It's great.
It's a pretty good trend, except for Pat Mahomes.
I think Mahomes is doing a little bit. Cowboys or Rams?
Oh yeah. I think it's way too many points. I'm taking the Cowboys. And eliminating myself from contention. Yeah. Ricky, you talked about the Rams defense and kind of downplaying their issues, and that fine, whatever. I don't think the defense, especially against the run, is very good. My issue with the Rams right now is actually the offense. Todd Gurley banged up. Yeah, that's not great, especially when you're running back. It's not ideal to have a tweaked knee. It's kind of like being a race car with a flat tire. Not what you're looking for. But my issue more is with what they've done since losing Cooper Kupp. And I think that's been a huge issue for them. Before that injury, they were 9-1. That's including the final game in which he played. 9-1 in those games. Jared Goff had a passer rating of 113. He's completing 68% of his passes and averaging 9.5 yards per attempt since Kupp got injured and since they lost him for the year. And this includes actually the Kansas City game in which that bonkers shootout. They're 4-2. Goff has an 83.9 passer rating, completing less than 60% of his passes and averaging less than 7 yards an attempt. They've turned the ball over 10 times in those 4 games, and that doesn't even include Week 17 against Arizona, which was just a joke of a game anyway. So they just haven't been the same without Kupp. I think obviously he's a nice safety valve for Goff, and that's also coincided with Gurley being banged up, so that's an issue as well. The Cowboys, decent enough pass rush. I think they're ranked. I think Pro Football Focus has them like as 11th in terms of pass rush grade. If they can get pressure on Goff as well, that's a huge thing for them because he's got a 59.8 passer rating under pressure according to Pro Football Focus. So something to keep in mind there as well. I mentioned this earlier. I was looking at the odds to win the conference as well.
Yeah.
The Cowboys currently 8-1 to win the NFC, and so if they win this game, they have a chance to even play a home game next week.
Yeah,
like they could, if Philly gets by New Orleans, the NFC Championship is in Dallas.
NFC East.
Yeah, which is just, I will drink myself to death because I'm not gonna watch. It's just after all my complaining about
I'm surprised they're not gonna just change it from Fox to NBC and make it a
yeah, right. No kidding. Exactly.
Cowboys-Eagles Sunday night.
More likely is that New Orleans wins that game against Philly, but for 8-1, I'll take my chances with Dallas going on the road and playing a team that they already beat. I mean, I think probably the Saints win it, but there's a lot of value there, so that's something to keep in mind.
No,
as well.
I hear you.
Anything else on that, guys?
Cowboys receiving corps is very thin. Cole Beasley banged up. Tavon Austin, we talked about him, his groin is messed up. Right now,
Both going to play.
But still banged up.
Yeah.
So you have guys like Michael Gallup and Noah Brown leading the charge for the Cowboys.
That's true.
Amari Cooper needs to have a big game. This is where they really miss Jason Witten. Cowboys, nice tight end.
I want to see if that defense shows up on the road. I know, like you said, it's going to be all Cowboys fans, and it's going to feel like a home game.
It's going to be embarrassing.
But offensively and defensively on the road, just a much different team.
Yeah. That did give me. I
right.
had some reservations about that. As well.
And meanwhile, the Rams at home. I mean, I think they're second in the NFL in yards per play. Obviously, a lot of that stems back to the beginning of the season when they were just running roughshod over everyone. But it gives you reason for pause.
Yeah, let's move on to the next
Sunday afternoon.
Well, this is my favorite game of the week.
This is a good one. The Los Angeles Chargers, fresh off of going on the road, playing a 1 o'clock game last week on the East Coast, have to do it again this week. They are coming east to take on the New England Patriots at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, where it might be snowing. It looks like they've kind of backed off of that, but you don't really know until the end of the week. So I saw somebody even mention a potential of a blizzard. So. Jeez, who knows at this point?
Imagine Phillip Rivers in the blizzard.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I actually kind of hope it does. I don't think it's necessarily a disadvantage for the Chargers if it does snow. These guys are adults, and they've played football their entire lives, but that's something to maybe get into down the line. And again, it could be sunny. We don't know. It's still a little bit too early to tell. But like I said, Patriots, 4-point favorites here. They are the smallest favorite of the weekend. I did a little research. Since it'll be the 2011 playoffs. That is the smallest divisional round spread that they've had. They opened at 4.5-point favorites, moved up to 6 against Kansas City a few years ago. And it's the first time that they've been the smallest underdog of the weekend. So just kind of, I don't know, I thought that was interesting. They've won all of those games except for the first year, which was against the Jets. They lost that game.
It's shocking that 4.5 points is the smallest underdog of the weekend.
Yeah.
Anyway, you want to start?
Yeah, Ricky, why don't you go ahead?
All right, so naturally, a lot of the talk ahead of this game is about that Chargers pass rush, the ability to pressure Tom Brady, specifically with having, I think the graphic was when they have 7 DBs on the field, like 90% of their snaps defensively. Yep. So they're able to create pressure without blitzing too much, just using that front four. But I don't think the Patriots are going to let them. They're going to let them beat them that way. I expect the Patriots to be extremely run heavy in this game. In which case, I think that's how they win offensively. I think they're able to attack that Chargers run defense, which has had issues this season. So I like the Patriots in this game. Initially, at first glance, I thought you wanted to give me the points and the Chargers. I'll take that. But I don't know. The more I think of it, I just think that they're not going to let the Chargers exploit their weaknesses.
I haven't picked the winner in this game yet. I don't know.
You should probably do that now.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers only because of the points. I look at the quote you said by Bill Cowher at the start of the show is the reason why I can pick both teams, because the Chargers' big weakness is allowing receiving yards to running backs. They've allowed the most receiving yards to running backs this year. And I can totally see the Patriots just short passes to their running backs and getting a ton of yards. In fact, that's what they did last year when these two teams played in the regular season. Rex Burkhead and James White combined for over
12 catches, 153 yards.
Yeah. You were going to say that?
Yeah, it was in my notes, yeah.
Wow, yeah. Sorry for stealing your point.
That's all right.
But you look at the other side.
He didn't even have a side, and he's just throwing out numbers.
No. I mean,
I did all my research and had to pick, and he's stealing my. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
On the other side, the Patriots' rush defense, they allow nearly 5 yards per carry. Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, I could see them having a big game on the ground, especially in a cold weather game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
I don't think.
You don't.
Why is it cold? The cold thing, this has been a thing that I went back and looked at Tom Brady's numbers in the cold recently. They aren't good. Old guys get cold. That's
what I'm saying.
That's why I think.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry.
Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler are going to run the ball well, and I think Brady's going to have a lot of short passes.
I guess I was just going off on a tangent, just like the impact of the cold. I don't think is that big of a deal. I don't think it's one of those things where
they're old guys.
No, my point was I think there's going to be a lot of people, especially locally, who are going to be like, oh, I hope it snows. I hope it's cold as all get up, because they think that. But it's just one of those things where it's like Sony Michel is from Florida, played his football at Georgia in the SEC, like, and didn't go outside after December. So it goes both ways. Sorry, go on. I'm being very rude.
No, you're fine. It's just, I think there's a lot of things going on with both of these teams. Their weaknesses are basically the same. They're going to allow a ton of rushing yards, and when that's the case, I'm going to take the points with the Chargers. I don't know who wins the game, but I'm going to love this game. I don't know who to pick, but I'm going with the Chargers.
I think Brady's pass attempts is going to be a very low number this weekend.
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to see many shots at all down the field. I think it's just going to be, like you said, those pass attempts, if they do creep up there, it's going to be by virtue of, like you said, a lot of dinking and dunking going on to James White.
One quick stat, too. Chargers are 7 of 8 this year on fourth downs this season. See, this is going to be a close game. You might have a big fourth down advantage. Chargers also 5th in red zone defense.
They get some big bodies.
I think those, yeah. And Bosa, 6.5 sacks in the last 7 games. And I don't think the pass rush will be a huge issue for the main reasons. I was going to call you Tom Brady. Sorry.
Thank you.
Main reasons why Tom Brady said. No, Ricky said. The Patriots only allowed 21 sacks this year. That was the 3rd fewest total.
It's amazing. Like, talent-wise, I think the Chargers blow the Patriots out of the water.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think it's close when you match these two teams up talent-wise. I just think game plan-wise, execution-wise.
All of that being said, I don't think this is going to be necessarily close. I think the Patriots are going to win this fairly easily.
Wow, okay.
And it's going to have nothing to do with the weather. It's just kind of, again, you go back to the quote: your strengths get you into the playoffs, and your weaknesses get you out.
What's the Chargers' weakness?
So I went in and I looked at all 4 of the Chargers' losses this season. In those losses, they won the first down battle in 3 of 4. They outrushed their opponent in 3 of 4 of those games. They allowed 0 touchdown passes in 2 of 4 of those games. They outgained their opponent in 3 of 4. Those are pretty positive stats, right? That's pretty impressive. Here's what happened. They lost the turnover battle in all 4, and they had more penalties in all 4, and they had more penalty yards in 3 of 4 of those games. New England, they have a +10 turnover margin. That's 5th in the NFL. The Chargers were just +1, tied for 15th in the NFL. And New England top 3 when it comes to avoiding penalties. The Chargers middle of the pack. So I think it's one of those things where the Patriots aren't going to beat themselves, and they'll just sit around and wait for the Chargers to do it for them. It's just one of those things where, I think all the attention is going to be placed on Melvin Gordon, who, by the way, is banged up as well, dealing with a knee injury. That's apparently a thing that the Chargers have to do when they come to New England to play a playoff game, because you go back to LaDainian Tomlinson came here or got hurt early in that game as well. But you kind of go back to last year. The numbers look good, but you take away that 87-yard touchdown run, which is easier said than done. But still, he ran for 45 yards on 13 carries in that game. So wasn't able to do a whole lot there. That game was not as close as it seemed. It was a 21-13 game last year with a terrible safety. Was it? And again, that's another issue. The Chargers special teams not great. It's just like all those little things I think add up. And the Patriots, I think that's the one spot where they have the clear, decisive advantage. I don't want to say intangibles, but I just trust them to kind of not screw themselves up as much as I think the Chargers will.
One thing we haven't talked about, though, is the Chargers have a lot of offensive weapons, receiver-wise. I know it's going to be...
well, they're going to force them to have a long field the entire game. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to... I think that the Chargers are more apt to turn the ball over and give the Patriots favorable field position, which is going to lead to some points here and there, in which case that could be the difference. Because I just think that the Patriots, like you said,
it's got to be conservative, right? I just would imagine.
It's just, I feel like this is one of those matchups where you just look across the board at like how much talent there is for the Chargers, like certain advantages, and then when they show up on Sunday, it's just it all means nothing.
It all gets neutralized.
They just completely.
That's what I'm
away
saying.
So many
like they'll run away from Ingram and Bosa. Like I'm with you. The passing game, like the running backs, I think they're going to eat them alive. Like it's just. They're going to find every single weakness that they have and exploit it.
And then you're going to be sitting there at the end like, wow, maybe the Chargers weren't that good. When in reality they are.
Right.
They're playing a team that isn't so well coached and isn't so well prepared.
So, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but if they have to go, it's one of those things too where you look at the Patriots all season, and there's such a clear divide between home and away. So maybe we are in a different conversation.
But you say the same thing about the Chargers.
Well, and that's one thing I did want to get in here. This is our buddy Joe Osborne pointing this out. In the Patriots' last 15 home games, all right, last 15 home games, they're 15-0. They've won them all. 12-3 against the spread. And they've won by an average of 15.9 points in each one of those games against a lot of bad teams.
Jets, Bills, and Dolphins.
But there's also the Vikings. There's also the Texans. There's also the Packers, and not great, but again, it's a good quarterback. But on the other side of this thing, as Joe also points out, Chargers last 7 road games, 7-0. They've won them all, covered all as well. 7-0 against the spread. They're winning those games. Their last 7 road games, they've won by an average of 10 points per game. That's insane.
They beat some decent teams on the road.
They don't have
too.
a home stadium. I mean,
Right.
like,
You got wins over Seattle, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Denver, Baltimore. Like, they've beat some legit competition. That's not.
I think they take it away and they win this one too.
I hope it's
a
good
home
game.
win in London.
That's
throw
the thing.
that in there.
Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Play in London this year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
The home victory over the Titans.
Yeah.
So they
their
haven't
only
had a
road loss was in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So they haven't had a miserable flight all season.
that's true. That's a good point.
No
The
visible
friendly
flights.
skies of
They
the
love the
Los
skies.
Angeles Chargers.
Of all games though this weekend, I hope this one lives up to the potential.
Yeah.
Because so here's the thing: if we're hopefully from like an entertainment point, you and I are wrong.
Oh, yeah,
Because like
100%.
then we're gonna have a hell of a football game.
I want to see like the Chargers talent on display. Like,
Right.
I want to see these guys teeing off. with
Right, I
Brady
want
and
Brady and
trying to make
Rivers
some
going
throws.
back and forth.
That's
all
what I
game.
want.
See,
Yeah.
that's what I can see.
That's why,
like,
but I think this game might suck. I think it
I
really might.
agree.
lay
That's
they're
what
both
I'm saying.
conservative in
Yeah.
the first half. It's 6-3 at halftime. I can see that.
I think the Patriots whoop their I think there's a chance the Patriots whoop their ass too. Like it's
I think the Patriots are
100%.
going to be very conservative, though, like you guys said.
Right.
I think maybe the Chargers, they say, you know what, we're going to take some risks. We have the talent, let's take some risks. And they succeed. And then the Patriots have to play from behind and get away from the running game. In the
That's
short pass
true.
game.
If the Chargers can score early and take an early lead and put the Patriots in an uncomfortable position, that's where we've seen them kind of struggle the most. Is when they're obviously
That's
not-
when you tee off. On
Yeah,
Brady.
right, exactly. When they're chasing. So it's it'll be a fun one. Hopefully, we'll see. I'm not too optimistic about it. Speaking of games, I'm not too optimistic about being good. Sunday's got a chance to. I think the better games are on Saturday, but we'll finish up Sunday afternoon in the Big
3
Easy.
Super Bowl MVPs playing on Sunday, though.
Oh, big deal. Yeah.
Foles, Brady, Breeze.
Breeze, yeah, sure.
A lot of Super Bowl MVPs.
This one opened at.
Telling me Philip Rivers is going to be
Maybe
Super Bowl.
this year's Super Bowl MVP.
This is the biggest spread of the weekend, right? Let me just
8
double check.
points?
Yeah, 8 points. Anyway, the Saints are at home against the defending, reigning Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, who went into Chicago and knocked out the Bears, now have to go to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Saints 8-point favorites as it stands right now. Let's see. This opened at around 8, got bet up to 9, and is now back down to 8. Like I said, Eagles coming off an impressive road win last week, if you want to call it that. Go into New Orleans. Andre, what do you? This is actually a rematch as well. Let me just get that out of the way. The Saints killed the Eagles 48-7 Week 11. So Andre, what do
I
you?
see similar results. I'll take the Saints. Battle of the trenches, you get the Saints. They've only allowed 20 sacks this year. Drew Brees is going to be very well protected at home. Saints haven't put up fewer than 30 points at home with Brees as a starting quarterback since Week 2. And they, of course, they put up 48 points against the Eagles in Week 11. Why should anything be different? Why? Saints, strong rush defense. They allow 3.6 yards per carry. I don't think the Eagles will get a good running game going in this game. Nick Foles will have to throw the ball a ton. And sure, this whole Nick Foles story is very cute and everything. It's a very cute story. But 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in the last 4 games. I mean, he's not that great.
Yeah.
If that kick doesn't hit boing, boing, we're not talking about Nick Foles right now.
Well, that's the thing. Wild Card Weekend is weird because it makes you overreact to how good a team really is.
Because they
in the
beat
case
a
of the
team that
Eagles.
wasn't as good and nearly as good. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so you're overreacting to that, and you also forget about how good the team is that's on the bye.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's very easy to forget how good a few of these teams are, and I think the Saints have proven throughout the course of the season that they're probably the best team in the NFL. So I'm with you. I'm taking the Saints with the points. If you're the Eagles, you try to turn this into a rock fight, similar to what they did against Chicago, but I mean, if you're the Saints, they basically can use the same defensive formula that Chicago did. Like you said, they're very good against the run. I think they're going to be able to slow Nick Foles in that offense on first down, force him into some 3rd and longs. In which case, I don't know. I don't have the faith in the Eagles to keep up offensively. And then on the flip side, I still have problems with that Eagles secondary. I think that was exploited on several occasions against Chicago, and Philly really won in spite of that. So I think the Saints roll here. This is when the magic runs out. Another thing, the Bears just couldn't finish drives either. 0 for 3 in the red zone. Saints a very good red zone team, 4th in the NFL. So I think they'll be able to get, once they get in there, be able to punch it in. So Like you, I think a continuation of that Week 11 matchup is in store.
Yeah.
I apologize if I repeat anything because I was just quickly looking into. Well, I was just.
Listen.
I had an idea because I'm trying to get ahead of it.
Well,
maybe a teaser.
It's a think tank. Yeah.
Maybe a teaser this week because I like the Saints as well. And, tease this down to 2. Jeez, pair it with maybe, either the Colts-Chiefs game or the Cowboys-Rams game. A lot of good spots. So I'll take the Saints as well. This is a revenge game. I will say that, and they were looking for it. Jason Peters said this week he accused the Saints of running up the score. Said we wanted them again. We got them again. Hey, this time we coming. It's definitely not going to be the same outcome. It may not be 48-7, but I do think the Saints pretty much run away with this one. Again, I think you guys kind of touched on this. Andre, you definitely did. If we don't have the double doink, what are we doing here? It's a totally different situation. Foles wasn't even that good last week. No. 77 passer rating, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It just feels like one of those things where people are like, well, they keep doing it, so let's keep rolling with them. It's maybe not the greatest thing. I also still have questions about that Philly secondary. It's, Mitch Trubisky obviously wasn't going to be able to take full advantage of that. The Bears offense wasn't going to be able to take full advantage of it. Be a little bit different with Drew Brees in that offense this week. And then, so that's the other thing. Yeah. And I was going to say, Allen Robinson, 10 catches, 143 yards. Despite all of that, Michael Thomas, if you're doing a little DFS this weekend, make sure he's in your lineup.
Greg Maddox or Austin Maddox, Tommy Maddox in the Eagles secondary. Not a good game.
Their secondary is still a joke. I think this number feels
Austin
low.
Maddox. The reliever.
Red Sox great.
Tommy Maddox. Steelers great.
Oh yeah, it's former XFL MVP.
Wait till the XFL version of the spread.
What's his actual name?
We'll be swearing left and right.
Oh, Tommy Maddox?
No, the Eagles Maddox.
Oh,
I don't know.
Avante Maddox.
Avante Maddox, yeah. Obvious. Greg's brother. All right, yeah.
My one concern though, there's been some injuries along that Saints offense.
Yeah, the Saints didn't look especially dominant down the stretch either.
That's really your one area, your one avenue for the Eagles to win this game.
Saints offensive line?
If they're not.
It also is kind of like.
But when they're healthy, it's you can make the case it's the best offensive line.
I'm also a little reticent to be gung ho about the team that literally everybody thinks is head and shoulders the best Super Bowl pick out there. Still, it's just I don't know.
It's gonna be a great week.
It's gonna be okay.
We'll see.
Well, that's the thing.
I felt better. I was more excited for last week.
I was just going to say the same thing, so hopefully things get reversed and we have a great weekend.
You got a classic, Rivers versus Brady. We're not going to see that again.
We've got 2. I think
I could see it next season.
If I was
what are you talking about? These 2 teams, they're gone.
If I'm to power rank the games this weekend, I think I'm going Chargers, Patriots, Colts, Chiefs, Rams, Cowboys, Saints, Eagles.
I'm more excited about Rams, Cowboys, and then I'll go with Colts, Chiefs.
I think Colts, Chiefs could be good.
Colts, Chiefs.
I think Colts, Chiefs has a chance to be this is
the first playoff game.
Right? Yes, exactly. I was going to say a redux of that game as well. So that would be awesome.
That was in the dome, though.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I like the total in that one too. It's at 57 right now. That's doable. 31-28. You're hitting the over. 31-27. You're in the over. So.
Can't wait.
Should be fun. We will be back. So yes, we will be back next week to do our conference championship picks. Incredible.
Almost time for the Pro Bowl spread.
Pro Bowl. That's
the best. Just degenerate gambling. Just bet slips.
Pro Bowl props.
And be on a side. Hit the over. So.
Let's not do that.
No, let's not. But let's get out of here. That's what we'll do right now. Thanks for joining us as always. We will be back again next week to make even more delightful
Get some
NFL
coffee on time.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Java time.
See ya.